Welcome to rSlash Entitled Parents, where a woman strips off the clothes of a 16-year-old girl and spanks her. Our next reply is from Alana Race. So first off, half of my family is Italian and half isn't. On the Italian side of my family, which the entitled mother is from, hitting other people's kids is pretty standard. But on the other side of my family, people do not tolerate it, so no one does it anymore. So I was about 16 years old at the time and living with my grandparents. My grandparents were having a little get-together, but the guests were all told to stay out of my room because I wasn't feeling well, plus my cat was in there. And with people going in and out of the house, we didn't want them to escape. There was even a sign on the door that said, "Please don't disturb, cat inside." Since I was sick, my temperature was all over the place, so I was in a sports bra and shorts, but my robe was right next to me. I was just laying back in my bed, trying to get a little bit of homework done before passing out again. I told my grandma to bring me some food when it was ready, and that was that. Then I heard a little knock on the door. The knock was super light, so I thought that maybe it was my grandma bringing me something to eat, not wanting to wake me up. I threw on my robe and say, "Yeah, come in." Next thing I know, this little gremlin comes in with chocolate all over his face and hands. It was my entitled aunt's son, a spoiled little brat. Of course, he walked right in and started touching my stuff, and he didn't close the door behind him. Luckily, I was at least able to grab my cat. "Wow, cool room," the entitled kid said and tried to pick up one of my notebooks, one that was really special to me. I took it off the table before he could get fudge on it. "I'm sorry, bud, but you have to go back to your mama. You're not supposed to be in here. I'm sick." The kid ignored me, still touching my stuff. "I'm bored though, and you have cool stuff. I got my shots last night." I just shook my head and pointed at the door. It's rude to go into someone's room when they say no. "Please just go play out there with the other kids. I'm sick," I said, firmly this time. He whined but left, slamming my door in the process. I shake my head and go over to my desk where my really fragile art supplies are. I start clearing off a spot for me to eat when I start getting really hot, so I take my robe off. The next thing I know, my door flies open, and I barely managed to grab my cat. The entitled mother stood there, red-faced and fuming. "My son said that you spanked him." What? I didn't even touch him once. I should point out that this entitled mother has a reputation for hitting kids if they step out of line, something my mom has warned with threats more than once while I was growing up. The entitled mother then stopped and looked at me, gasped, and covered her eyes as if she had never seen another woman not fully clothed before. "Young lady, that is so indecent. There are children in this house. Put some clothes on." I stared at her, dumbfounded, and just shook my head. "Look, entitled mom, I never hit your kid. I would never do that. And I'm sick. He shouldn't be coming in here, and neither should you." What followed was her ranting for about 5 minutes about how I was wrong and blah blah blah. My stomach was starting to churn from the stress and from being sick, and I knew that I was not going to keep that down for long. I told her she has to leave now. I'm sick, and the cat that I was holding was scratching up my boobs at that point. I pointed out that I was indecent, I was trying to keep my cat from escaping, and she had no right to be there in the first place. She grabbed me, and as if I was like 6 years old, she started trying to spank me, even managing to get my shorts down. This woman actually smacked my butt. So I did what most people would do. I screamed for my grandfather. "Papa, this woman is hitting me!" Then I push her back. Her hip slams into my bed frame, and I run into the hallway, slamming the door behind me while she wails at me like a banshee. Now, at this point, I'm only wearing my underwear and I'm standing in front of all these guests. But what's also pretty important is that they can all see like 6 or 7 really bright red marks on my thigh and butt. I have never seen my grandfather curse, but seeing his half-naked granddaughter with obvious marks from an assault standing in the hallway trying not to have a panic attack, he lost it. He called this entitled mother so many bad things, I lost count. A few of the other guests also came into my room to scream at her as well. I'm crying at this point, not because she hurt me, but because I was humiliated. I just wanted to get back to my room and hide from the world. But little did I know, things were gonna get worse. She started yelling, saying that my grandparents spoiled me and that I hit her kid first. By this point, her own husband was yelling, "No she didn't," right in her face, but she didn't care. She pushed over my desk, breaking a lot of projects I worked really hard on, and all of my supplies spilled everywhere, all into the carpet and everything. She was immediately kicked out of the house. Her son admitted to lying, and he felt really bad for what happened. He was crying, hugging me, saying that he was super sorry, just basically being really apologetic. We never talked to the entitled mother again after that, except to get money for my stuff. She refused, but my mom told her that she would file charges for sexual assault of a minor since she pulled my pants down to hit me. She would lose her kids if we won the case, so she gave me $500 and I got to call her a B-word to her face. So one of the benefits of being a professional YouTuber is I have opportunities where I can give people really important life advice. One lesson that I think everyone should learn is don't pull off the clothes of a 16-year-old girl and hit her under any circumstances. It's probably a bad idea, you will probably go to jail, and it is extremely illegal and unethical. Like, why do I even need to say this? Like, how does this woman think, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. There's a 16-year-old girl who's not mine, it's someone else's kid, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull off her underwear and hit her. Yeah, this is totally fine. This is a great idea. I'm sure this decision will not come back to haunt me at all. Let's do it. Our next Reddit post is from Worried Shift. So there's this very small 8th grade girl, and her dad is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu instructor. I don't know if that's what you call it. Like, the guy had his own martial arts school and everything. The dad obviously taught her how to defend herself. One day, this male bully from the 12th grade is getting a bit weird and starts trying to flirt with her, and she's very uncomfortable. The creepy bully persists, harassing this girl for at least 5 minutes. He then gropes her, and I don't think anyone has ever hit a combo move so quickly. This girl pulled off what had to be one of the fastest knockouts ever. She kicked him in the groin, followed up with an uppercut, and then flowed back into some kind of atomic elbow. This 12th grade guy was out like a light in less than half a second. Anyway, the parents of the bully start trying to take action and get this girl in as much trouble as possible for beating up their son. They called a meeting with the principal and the girl's parents. The principal sided with them and decided the girl should leave their school. The dad is furious, but the school doesn't budge. Eventually, the dad says, "My daughter is staying at this school and that sicko is leaving. He can either leave quietly and immediately or we can escalate this. We'll sue you for sexual assault and come after both the school and the family." The school waived all punishment the girl had been given and expelled the bully on the spot. The dad couldn't have been prouder of his daughter for knocking out a creep who was literally 3 times her size. Beneath that, we have this story from Comfortable Ad. In 6th grade, a boy unsnapped my bra when he was sitting behind me on the bleachers. I turned around and knocked him out. The school tried suspending me, and the boy's parents were pissed. My dad said, sure, but he would be bringing his lawyer back the next day, and everything was dropped. It's so funny how they're willing to let the girls take the heat for sexual harassment until you threaten a lawsuit. Well, you know why this is, right? It's because girls show off their shoulders at school. And clearly, how can teenage boys possibly resist committing sexual harassment when they see a girl's shoulders? Our next Reddit post is from Javquirod. I recently bought a desktop PC that cost about $1,500 without counting the monitors and other stuff, and I was very delicate with it. My grandma's birthday was approaching, and since my family and my grandma live in the same city, all the other family members traveled to visit. I love my cousins, except for one group. These kids are spoiled. Their mother doesn't care about them, so they've become bratty, annoying kids. The oldest is 11, and she's the least annoying, but she doesn't care what other people think, and she always just does what she wants. The middle kid is about 8 years old, and he's a crybaby. If we don't let him play with our phones, he goes to cry to his parents. And the third one, who's 5, is always making fun and picking on the middle kid. He also breaks other people's toys, and he's a snitch. So I was chilling in my house playing some Counter-Strike when I heard people at the door. I hoped that it was the good cousins, but it was the trio. First, they tried to annoy my little brother into handing over his Nintendo Switch. After a while, they got bored and came to my room. The first kid to walk in was the youngest kid. He immediately sat on the bench that was next to my desk and started watching me play. He asked to play, but I said no because it was too hard for him and he would just die. Then the middle kid walked in, and they started arguing over who was going to play first. After a couple of matches, they started saying that it was their turn, and when I refused, they started picking on each other for fun. At one point, the young one punched the big one, who fell into my PC's tower and knocked it over. They got scared and went to tell their parents. Luckily, the PC was fine, not even a scratch. But then they made up a story about me picking on them and not letting them play, and I had to let them play. Their mother screamed at me in front of my parents and told me that if I made her baby sad again, then she would make sure my computer disappears. At one point, the smallest kid was playing, and he got so mad after dying that he punched my keyboard, knocking a piece off. Then, after I told my parents what happened, their mother told me off for being a snitch. They eventually left, and now I have to play with a keyboard with a broken key. I asked my mom if I could buy a lock for my room, and she agreed, so next time they're not even coming inside. So I'm a pretty non-violent person in general. I've never been in a fight, I don't want to be in a fight, but if you damage someone's gaming PC, then you're really asking for it. Our next Reddit post is from Deleted. I've always been above average in a lot of things, which bothers my aunt to no end. This leads to her pushing my cousin too far. And at this point, my cousin and I are sick of my aunt ruining my cousin's mental health over trying to make her better than me in things that she doesn't even care about. Well, we're in 8th grade this year, and we have the option to apply for an IB school, which is basically the gifted program continued into high school. We have a program for English and French, but French is always seen as the more prestigious program. My parents made sure that my first language was French so I'd get a head start and hopefully when I'm older get better jobs. My cousin, on the other hand, didn't start immersion until grade 3, so her French isn't the strongest. So my cousin and I both applied to the French IB program. My parents asked me to apply, so I had the option. My cousin, on the other hand, applied because her entitled mother told her to. Well, our applications came back. I got in, but my cousin got 4th quartered waitlisted, which basically means that almost 100 people have to drop out before she can get in. My aunt was not happy about this. So what did she do? She called me from my cousin's phone to berate me, of course. During that phone call, she demanded that I not go to the IB school, and she threw out some fun words, such as the F slur to refer to a gay person, abomination, and the T slur to refer to someone who's transitioned. I should point out that I'm not even trans. She also called me an undeserving B word, the D slur that refers to a lesbian, and so on. She also spent a solid 10 minutes going on about how my cousin deserves it more. I honestly just stayed on the call to see what insult she could come up with until she was repeating herself. I actually did attend that school through grade 9 just out of spite, but I wanted to go back to school with my friends and apply for HPA, so that's what I did this school year. That was rSlash Parents, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.